And where are we going?
Welcome to Red Ice Creations Radio. This is Henrik Palmgren. I am the editor of redicecreations.com and I am your host. Thank you for tuning in to this Thursday show. We are just about in the middle of April and we're moving towards summer finally, at least up here in the Western Hemisphere. If you are new to this program, you might want to know that we have a new show available through our website every Thursday and Sunday. We archive all of our shows in case you want to backtrack, and we certainly got a number of great shows with our archived with our guests who's with us here today. Our monthly regular Michael Tsarion, who joins us every third Thursday of every month. And today we are going to begin to talk about the origins of Lucifer, the connections to light and atomism, and much, much more. And before we bring Michael on, just let me mention his website, michaeltsarion.com, where you can find all his links to his blog, his taroscopes.com website, and originsandoracles.com for the excellent and extensive DVD series, and much, much more. For all you guys who are interested in finding out more about and from Michael, highly recommended stuff. And to get things going today, I thought we could begin to read a paragraph from the somewhat famous letter, I guess, from Albert Pike to Mazzini. And we have talked about this before, but this material comes up again and again, and is always, interesting and important to address. There's much information kind of hinged on this and surrounding it. So let me begin to read this paragraph here first. We shall unleash the nihilists and atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effort of absolute atheism, origins of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. Then, everywhere, the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude, disillusioned with Christianity, anxious for an ideal, will receive the true light through the universal manifestations of the pure doctrine of Lucifer. That's the famous quote there in the letter from Albert Pike to Mazzini, and this is written in 1871. Hi, Michael. Welcome to the program. What do you think about that quote there?
Thank you for reading it. It's a good way to open the show on this origins of Lucifer question, because again, in the very last sentence, within a few words of each other, he's talking about that light is connected to Lucifer. So wherever you find the term Lucifer, you're finding the term light. And it's very important to realize that Pike is a man who, like so many people who are standing on the threshold between the seen and the unseen, and the known and the unknown, and the apparent and the illusionary, this man understood that the Bible and so many documents of religion, they have several levels of meaning. He openly said himself many times, you see, that only initiated people could really understand or crack the code of the Bible. I just want to emphasize that a lot, that people are reading these documents every day, they're hearing these terms, and these terms have double or triple meanings. It's not what we're told in Sunday school. It's not necessarily what we are originally led to believe. But again, just the very idea that why is there a connection? People in their mind, they associate Lucifer or with Satan, which may or may not be true. I mean, we can explore that in today's show. But
sure.
If you're talking about the negative power, then what on earth is, why would even somebody who's a worshiper of Lucifer be talking about light? It seems incongruous that, the so-called Lord of Darkness is connected so much with light. So there we've got already a very interesting contradiction, a very interesting problem
Absolutely.
to look into,
Yeah. Let me read a second paragraph here to get more ideas swirling, so to speak. And this is from Irish Origins of Civilization, the Volume 2. This is the new and upcoming book from Michael. And this is also in his on his taroscopes.com website, the excellent article series, the huge article series called Akhenaten, the Cult of Aton, and the Dark Side of the Sun. This is what it says. Those writers and investigators who have accused Adam Weishaupt, Albert Pike, Giuseppe Mazzini, Adriano Lemmi and other Illuminati Grand Masters of being Luciferians, who would do well to acknowledge the ancient roots of this ideology so beloved of the cultists they expose. The origin of Luciferianism is atonism, and the master masons of the world would much prefer it if this fact was never openly revealed. They prefer people to connect their god Lucifer with the horned devils and tempting demons of Christian lore. That kind of distracting error serves to obscure the complexion and nature of their bizarre doctrine. The initiated insiders is the one to whom Lucifer's true name is revealed. He is the one to be exalted by knowledge. After his blindfold is removed before the altar, it is he who will be illumined and enlightened by the radiance of Lucifer, or more correctly, of Aton. Interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is it sort of presents in a nutshell the basic idea. And I mean, I'm sure that comes as a shock to even Masons when they finally find out what's going on. For some it may be a pleasant shock.
Mm.
For some, they may have already guessed it. And for others, it could be a complete another shock to find out that, wait a minute, you're talking about Egyptian pharaohs here. You're talking about the Christ before the Christ. You're talking about a very antique, ancient tradition.
Mm.
So that when we're looking back and trying to trace the origins of modern Freemasonry in the whole of the secret society networks, people have looked like back to Babylon, into the cult of Tsarion and whatnot.
Sure.
And you go back to people have even traced this through Mithras, through the cult of Mithras,
yeah.
the cult of Dionysus, Zoroastrianism, you name it.
Mm.
And my work just goes, look, can we not understand that this, all of those themselves go back to this perverted form of solar worship?
Mm.
There's nothing wrong with the sun. There's nothing wrong with light. There's nothing wrong with solar worship.
Yeah.
Christianity is a version of solar theocracy,
sure,
of theology, but it's a specific kind. And so when we're talking about Luciferianism, this is one area that needs to be looked into.
Yeah.
But, again, in that statement, again, you hear the whole concept about that there is one tradition for the outsider, and then there's one tradition from the insider. The people within have a different understanding and interpretation. So my work is very much about bringing that forward to the ordinary public so that we get a little bit of an understanding of the differences in the way that these notions of light are understood. It's not the way light is not understood by secret society members, members of the Illuminati, members of the Temple of Saul, right? The Knights of the Temple of Saul. They have a completely different understanding of what light is than the average Christian, you see, or the average Muslim, or the average Jew,
Yeah.
And again, people need to look at the Bible and realize that there's so many different stories there. We've got contradictions. My work focuses a lot on the actual contradictions that are in the Bible. I mean, for instance, give you, like two examples. They say that God got so unhappy with the primal parents that he basically comes down to destroy his creation. First of all, the creation was 6 days in creation. It was a great creation. And then God is so unhappy with the actions, of Adam and Eve because they were sinners, that he basically says, I'm going to destroy the creation. Well, the contradiction is, why did he not just destroy Satan, who caused all the problems in the first place?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, Adam and Eve sinned, but they sinned because they were tempted by Satan. Wouldn't it have been better if God had just dealt with Satan and left everything else alone?
Yeah.
But no, he destroys the entire creation, all animals, all life on the earth, saves only Noah, but completely leaves Satan alone and doesn't even bother with him at all. I mean, that's completely insane. What's with that? Well, again, a non-initiated person who doesn't know about the pre-Adamite peoples, who just buys into what the Bible is saying and takes that for history, well, it's a contradiction. They're not going to understand it. Another one is, that man is said to be made in God's image. Adam and Eve are meant to be made in God's image, but then, of course, that's contradictory because they're not made immortal. God, of course, doesn't die. He's immortal, but Adam and Eve are not immortal. They have a, finite life, and they're not around on the earth today. They died. So right there you have another contradiction in the Bible.
Yeah.
And then there's hundreds of these just in the book of Genesis.
Oh, yes.
So again, people can either, be cynical and throw the book across the room and say, okay, I'm done with that, I'm an atheist, and I do not agree that that is a intelligent action, you know, which is you find in the world a lot today.
Yeah,
People
sure.
have to realize, no, it's not because the Bible is written by idiots. It's because it's written, you know, in code. There's a whole mythological, labyrinthine, you know, symbolic story going on there, and it's so much more interesting than just throwing the book in the trash and saying, I give up with all of this, and then pursue your damn materialistic lifestyle or whatever.
Sure.
It's important to learn about it and find out what's all mean.
Sure, and I mean, we have been pushing, I guess, that kind of idea, at least on this show, a little bit, that the idea that the Bible actually works also as a blueprint for current times and all of this, because again, I mean, the people can make of that what they will, but the Bible is prominently featured on the altar in Masonic lodges and all of that too. So I mean, there are connected there.
There's even a thing called a Masonic Bible.
Yeah, sure, exactly, sure.
All Masons are given one, and that Bible is meant to be returned at the Mason's death back to the lodge. You know, you don't have to do that, but you know, because the wife of a dead Mason can keep that book, you know.
Okay, yeah.
But normally it's meant to be, you know, sent back to the lodge at the time of the death, and you can pick up these Masonic Bibles occasionally at certain, you know, antique bookstores or maybe, you know, antiquarian bookstores. You can actually go and you look at, and it's not quite the same as the normal Bible, and they're very illustrated. They've got beautiful pictures inside it of the Temple of Solomon. You know, certain verses are much more important to Masons.
Yeah.
And when you really realize, you know, if people are familiar with my work, they'll know that I'm echoing exactly the same thing as what Ralph Ellis and what Ahmad Osman and Mustafa Gadala have been saying, you know, in the last 10, 12 years, or a little bit more, maybe 16 years or so, that, look, you know, the Bible is really the record of the pharaohs. It's really a book of the pharaohs.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and since the pharaohs, I mean, you only have to look at pictures of the pharaohs to see them wearing the Masonic apron.
Sure.
The Masonic aprons all come from the symbol. You know, you can see those the pharaohs wearing exactly the same thing. The triangular-shaped aprons, not to mention all the other regalia. Well, you know, the Masonic lodges, the Freemasonic lodges, are originated, or at least the form that we know now originates in in Egypt.
Sure.
And the whole concept of Masons believing in the Temple of Solomon goes back to the Temple of Jerusalem, which of course was created by the Israelites, who people like Ralph Ellis and Ahmad Osman have shown the Israelites are nothing more than a dynasty of Egyptian pharaohs.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, you know, one thing connects to the other. We gotta start deconstructing this idea that we have about the Israelites and the Zionists, and stop thinking them as Jews that are religious converts today. And particularly Jews need to worry about this, because, you know, something deadly is hiding under the face of Judaism, just like something deadly is hiding under the face of Christianity.
Yeah.
And it's time that the Jews and Christians woke up to this atomism that is happening in their midst, and not associate with it in any way.
Yeah. You know, just thinking about this idea, and don't know if you want to comment about it, but it is also regarding, you know, the idea of seeking the light. You know, we as persons, or, you know, those who are spiritual seekers, and I don't know if this is connected with, in some sense, the word bliss, and of course the obvious, you know, phrase connected with bliss is, you know, ignorance is bliss, and so forth. Do you want to pick up on this at all? Do you find there is a connection here in some way?
Well, yeah. I mean, why would the Illuminati, who obviously consider themselves the elites? So we got words like pupil, you know, a youngster. These terms, you know, a pupil is a school pupil. Pupil is because it was representing the sun, which is the light of day.